Hello again and welcome to another edition of Southern Country. Hi, I'm Herb Sudson. Welcome to the show, my friends. This is part 2 of the Fonthill Museum in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. And we have Pauline. How you doing?
Fine, Herb. Thank you.
And Elizabeth?
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And Corey?
Welcome once again to Fonthill.
Okay. Tell us more about Fonthill now.
Well, Fonthill was the home of Henry Chapman Mercer, who was born in 1856 and died in 1930. He was a tile maker in the arts and crafts movement, the arts and crafts period, historian, scholar, archaeologist, architect. This was one of 3 concrete buildings that he was responsible for designing and creating during his lifetime, the other 2 being the Moravian Pottery and Tile Works and the Mercer Museum.
Tell us what room we're in the house right now.
Well, right now we're in what's called the dorm or bedroom. You know, when Mercer was designing the house, every room got a name, and this happened to be the dorm or bedroom, which adjoins the study, and this was a sort of little suite of areas. This was Mercer's first bedroom here in the house, a little suite of areas in which Mercer could conduct his personal life and also do some of his design work, his study, his dictation for his books and that kind of thing.
All right, Corey, thank you for sharing that about Mercer's bedroom.
We're continuing our tour through the house, and we're in the study now. Corey, what can you tell us about the study?
Well, I always like to think that this room has more in it that represents all the different facets of Mercer's life. It's really Mercer in microcosm, and I always get a sense of more of his presence here than maybe in any other room in the house. Because this is adjoining his original bedroom, he probably spent a lot of time in this space doing the work that he needed to do and was moved to do, whether that was designing tile, whether it was conducting research and dictating for his various books and articles on pre-industrial tools. No matter what it was, in some cases maybe just sitting and reflecting and reminiscing. The things that are in here, there is Mercer's own artwork, his etchings. There are examples of the kinds of tools that he was collecting and interested in for his Mercer Museum. There's his own tile work. There's sort of inspiration in terms of the history of American ceramics. A little bit of everything, and a piece of every part of Mercer's life, I think, is here.
Well, you can see certainly all of that in here.
Right, now we're in one of Mercer's guest rooms, and it's a very lovely room. It's called the Yellow Room. And what is the significance of this room, Corey?
Well, as you pointed out, this is one of a few different guest rooms within Fonthill. Well, even before the house was finished, as you can imagine in this area, the house attracted quite a bit of attention from the community, and people wanted to visit. They wanted to see what this place was. And then after the house was constructed, Mercer had sort of an extended group of folks who were interested in what he was doing, and they came and visited the house, and this was one of the places that they stayed, and were intrigued, in many cases wrote about it. There are lengthy and voluminous guest books where people came in and just reacted to the house, usually very positively. The other thing about this room particularly is that this is one of the rooms in the house that's been most fully restored to what it looked like originally in Mercer's time, with the tiles cleaned, with draperies hanging on the walls. One of the things you don't get a sense of throughout the house is a lot of the textiles that were here, and the house is not as harsh, or was not as harsh, as maybe it first appears to a lot of people. So it gives that sense of softness, I guess, to have the fabrics on the walls and to get that sense of what it must have looked like in Mercer's time. I think one of the other great things about this room, there's a tile installation here, the story of Bluebeard, and maybe you'll be able to get a shot of that. But the story is, and this goes back to Mercer's interest in telling stories with his tiles and deriving his tiles from a variety of sources, including folk tales. But the story of Bluebeard and his wives, and how his wife was told not to go into the forbidden chamber. When she did, she discovered all his other wives that were in there dead, and Bluebeard came back and chased her to the house, and then she was rescued by a handsome prince. So one of many stories here at Fonthill.
I've never read that story. It sounds pretty interesting. What is it called again?
The story of Bluebeard.
Okay, and there is a tile over here that we can look at a little later and see that story.
Something for visitors to ponder when they fell asleep at night in the castle.
All right, like I said, this is a great room, and the visitors are certainly lucky to stay in this room.
Well, Corey, we're up another flight of stairs, and where are we?
Well, this is the Columbus Room. This is probably the most flamboyant tile installation in Fonthill, both ceiling and floor. Mercer, of course, was extremely interested in the story of the encounter, Columbus's discovery, exploration of what was then called the New World. It really represented in many ways sort of a metaphor for his own interests in exploration and all kinds of areas of learning and knowledge. This was a room that he also dedicated to his wealthy aunt, Elizabeth Chapman Lawrence, who really contributed a lot of the money that it took to build Fonthill to get Mercer established in his tile business. So the tiles on the ceiling, you'll see Elizabeth Lawrence's initials, E.L., along with all kinds of scenes of the people, the animals, the flora and fauna of the New World, and the process of discovery and encounter. And in the floor are tiles representing a mosaic representing Columbus setting sail with Ferdinand and Isabella, and a lot of the smaller tiles reflect all of the various islands and communities and states of the New World, the Bahamas, Nicaragua, and so on and so forth.
All these tiles were made over here at the Moravian Pottery?
All the tiles were made at the Moravian Pottery and Tile Works. The other sort of personal note in this room, and part of what I think kids love about coming to Fonthill, is the paw prints of Henry Mercer's favorite Chesapeake Bay retriever, Rollo. Mercer had a lot of dogs during his lifetime. He loved dogs. There are accounts of the dogs sort of following him as he rode his bike between here and the Mercer Museum. Mercer made sure that when the concrete was still wet, that Rollo had a way to memorialize himself here in the house.
Most people put their names in the wet concrete.
Right. Well, yeah.
This is like Grauman's Chinese theater for dogs.
That's exactly right. And Rollo is over at the Mercer Museum as well.
Is he stuffed?
No, but I mean his memory.
Oh, okay.
His memory and spirit are there. Yeah.
Okay, Corey. Thanks a lot. Well, my friends, we're wrapping up this edition of Southern Country at the Fonthill Museum in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Corey, thank you very much for the tour. How do people get a hold of Fonthill?
Well, a couple of ways. You can check out our website, www.mercermuseum.org. You can call 215-345-0210, which is the Mercer Museum, or 215-348-9461 to schedule a tour here at Fonthill. It's by guided tour only, and we hope folks will come and see us real soon.
Absolutely. Anybody that hasn't been here is really missing out on some beautiful, beautiful tile work. Am I right, Elizabeth?
Absolutely. And while you're here, you can pick up some additional information. And Pauline happened to find this amusing quote.
Well, I picked up a book at the beginning of our tour, and here's what an architect has to say about Henry Mercer. He was building from the inside outward and risked being responsible for a house which might terrorize the whole neighborhood.
And on that note, see you next time. Hope you enjoyed the tour through Fonthill Museum. Bye-bye.